Hello and welcome back to Literary Losers with Fran and Victor.
Hello.
I'm Fran,
And I'm Victor.
and today we are going to be continuing our discussion of Autumn Wazowski's Expelling the Darkness fantasy series, the craziest and worst book series that we've ever read.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, also, today we're going to be talking about the first book in the series, Blackface. um, Obviously, for the sake of just not being total fuck asses, we obviously are changing the names of these books from their real names, and we also are changing the authors' names generously. Please do not try to look these things up, and we hope that our talking shit can make you laugh.
All we can hope for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also want to dedicate this episode to Pandora Books. I hope you feel better soon. I'm sorry you're dealing with some shitty circumstances right now. I appreciate you in my comments though.
Thank you for being nice to Fran, and I hope that you feel better as well. I
Yeah.
like the community that Fran has brought up around her, and I think you're all a ton of lovely folks.
And today we're introducing some much needed toxicity into that
Hell
community.
yeah.
And if you haven't seen the first episode, which is episode 0, the backstory, where we talk about how these books fell into our laps, and this goes to everyone, obviously, please watch that first because it will explain why I have fucking beef with this person.
Yeah.
And don't let me forget, before the end of the episode, I also want to talk about what we saw in the comments. Do you think we should start by maybe... So this is the first book in the series, Blackface. If you want to know why it's called Blackface, watch the first episode, episode 0, where... We talk. There's blackface on the fucking cover of the book. Not intentional blackface, but blackface nonetheless.
Accidental blackface sure is a fucking phrase.
Okay, Victor really wants to read the blurb on the back of the book, so we'll start there.
All right, we'll start here. The fate of the world runs through her veins. War lingers on the horizon for the former allies Orinth and Antica. To the north stands the Shadow Wall, the unwavering border between the human realm and the realm of darkness. Nothing can open it, except the death of a single person. Princess Alita Golding has only known life inside a palace. When an outside threat arises, she's forced to abandon it all and flee to far shores. With the help of a rebellious smuggler and the son of a crime lord, Alita embarks on a journey that changes everything she thought she knew. Sonny Lois has spent the last 4 years crippled by the unsolved murder of her parents. Deprived of the answers she seeks, she spends her time helping others find their own. When she is hired by a man from her enemy country to find his brother's killer, Sonny is launched into a treacherous world of danger and deceit. With threats at every corner, Sonny battles to stay alive, investigating the murder while searching for who she really is.
Reactions to that? Is it as convoluted as you remembered?
It's pretty bad.
I think what... Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I think Mr. Corcoran's assessment was accurate.
I just, the problem is, it is completely unclear what the relationship is between the Alita plot and the Sonny plot. And it
that
isn't
carries
even,
on
and it
through
carries
the
on
rest
through the rest of the book. So it's just never resolved. So it feels like you're reading a book that is split in two, and you can't even guess
I'd say
what the relationship is gonna be.
They coalesce 2/3 of the way in, but these characters never interact in this book.
Yeah.
And so it makes it feel very I don't know. It's just a kind of annoying because you kind of wish that it was more complete.
Well, it's even more annoying because the characters, we'll talk about this more later probably, but we've talked a lot about how the characters in this book do not have distinct personalities at all. And so Sonny and Alita are basically just the exact same character. And so it just becomes frustrating as a reader because it's from a developmental editing perspective, I'm not positive that they needed to be separate characters.
But babe, we
need the lay epic. We need the complexity.
We needed princess author self-insert and badass
independent woman who don't need no man. That's Sonny. Miss Independent.
The strong female character.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
But they're both... So I don't understand what the purpose of having two self-inserts are if they're so similar.
Because she can't write.
Well,
I mean, she just, like, because a normal writer would realize, because, like, I don't start writing until I feel like I have a very crystallized idea of who the characters that I'm writing are, where I'm like, I can rotate this person in my mind like a three-dimensional object. Like, I know how they would you could put them in any situation and I could tell you exactly how they would react. But she didn't do that. She was just like, oh, it'd be kind of cool to have an independent one and kind of cool to have, like, a princess who's just, like finding her own, but, like, it doesn't thematically make sense because Sonny's whole plot line is just about, like, uncovering lost trauma and solving a mystery, and then Alita's plot line is just being Rose from Titanic.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's just like they're just like thematically not connected in any way, and even later in like the series when they do connect, it still doesn't feel really connected. In fact, Alita falls by the wayside really hard, and like she gets like kind of abandoned by the author. But we'll talk about that later. I mean, should we give them like a plot overview of what happens in this book?
We should try to give them a plot synopsis.
Okay.
Alita Golding is a princess in the fictional country of Antica or Orinth. And the
countries are interchangeable.
Yeah, the countries are complete. Yeah,
it's going to be so confusing.
Of country A, and her best friend is a 86-year-old edgelord.
No, he's like 39.
He's like 35 or something. This 35-year-old, definitely not Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. This guy named Ryder Grey. With the country is...
Oh, and Alita likes pastries.
Oh, and she really likes pastries.
That.
And she's a princess, and she likes dresses, and she's naive. And she's protected, but she has a heart for adventure.
But she also can figure shit out really fast.
Even though
she's really stupid also. Mm-hmm. She's also probably gay given the way the author writes her, but we'll talk about that later. It's not intentional because this author is clearly conservative and bigoted, which we talk about in episode 0, but like yeah, Alita might be gay. Not intentionally by the author,
which is impressive.
So, and there's some kind of fucking like a farmer gets killed on the border.
Oh yeah, yes.
And the king executes somebody for the murder, and they get...
Well, no, he executes
and they get mad. Yeah, he executes the spy, and then the other country gets mad.
And so they go to war.
Wait, no, and there's something with Alita in like the cave, and she gets kidnapped, and Ryder rescues her.
We gotta talk about Ryder a little more. So Ryder is her best friend and also the king's
advisor.
The king's like highest advisor, and also a general. And this is very funny considering his background that we'll find out more about in later books.
Banch, the prequel.
His background is orphan.
School shooter.
We'll get to that. And so Ryder Grey tells Alita about the legend of the Shadow Wall and how the evil other country, country B, is trying to kidnap the princess.
Oh, because they think that by spilling her blood, they think that she will break down the shadow wall, which is basically the wall from Game of Thrones, when it keeps the White Walkers out, but instead it's just like the darkness and like demons unquote, and like and devils and stuff. And if you're wondering what like the lore of that is, it's just never explained.
It's literally what we just described.
Never explained. I have no idea what the darkness looks like or what these demons look like or anything. And there's also wildlings that live beyond the wall too, but it's not important. So, and it's also unclear why this country wants the wall to fall, because how are they going to have the demons on their side necessarily?
Because the king is crazy.
Yeah, and
he went insane.
I want to blow up the world because I do. Because logic.
I think the instigating incident was this farmer crossing it, just some guy.
But he's named. And his whole backstory is Cray Dune. Yeah.
The names are fucked.
The names are so well. Okay, so Alita has to leave the palace and go into hiding, even though so the palace has all these secret passages underneath it.
Underwear.
Under it. And Alita, instead of just like hiding Alita inside of those, they're like, Alita, you need to just leave town and go to a foreign country, even though you've never left home before and don't know what you're doing.
Spoiler alert, she gets fucking captured, because of course she does.
And so Alita has to leave the castle, and so she's trying to find her way to the foreign country, and meanwhile,
and she comes across a kooky cast of characters along the way.
She does, and she gets fucked in a seedy tavern. We'll talk about this later. She gets fucked in a seedy tavern, and she meets Tom Bombadil.
Yep.
And she buys a puppy, and she meets a strong black woman who
owns the puppy.
Who owns the puppy, and who is also coincidentally a giant criminal and evil and a racist stereotype, basically.
And she falls in love with the crime lord Twink.
She ends up on Sahar the Black Woman and Roman the Twink's pirate ship, and they sell her.
To the enemy nation.
To the enemy nation. And meanwhile, so that is the Alita plot.
So that's the A plot. So
do you remember the Sani plot?
I know the Sani plot. She is sad because she doesn't know who her parents are.
Yeah.
Or no, she does, but she doesn't know
they're dead.
Yeah, so she's sad because 4 years ago when she was 15, her parents were murdered. Yeah. And so now she runs like a hotshot detective agency in the enemy country. For some fucking reason. It's like a loft apartment in like the center of this
suite
with verbatim like a refrigerator, and is confronted in her apartment by a man from, quote, the wilds, and is threatened into taking a job and helping him find his brother's killer so that he can return to his tribe, in quotes.
Yeah, and Sani, so they're out solving the mystery, and they go through an enchanted forest that never appears in the story ever again. And she has a religious experience with the forest witch where she hallucinates her family's death or whatever. I think it teaches her something about herself, but I don't remember what.
It's a premonition of something, because...
No, it's about having self-worth and not caring how you look and loving yourself as a woman, and about how everything's gonna be okay,
and that you're entitled.
And then she bathes in a hot spring.
Yeah, so she has a steamy hot scene in a hot spring with the Native American guy, Adriel, and
I don't remember what else happened.
She goes to a city where she finds out about the prophecy of the last heir, and she finds
Yeah.
out about like the types of powers that are associated with them. And then as they are leaving the city, the Adriel is attacked, and they're by just some roving band of like army deserters, and they're about to kill him because racism, and she unlocks the power of the last heir, and it is revealed that she is the last heir,
and she has the darkness,
and she has
within
the darkness.
her. Yeah, which is why she has the power to topple the shadow wall.
Yeah. And
so would you say that's were you gonna say something else?
No, I was gonna say that's the end of the book. That's where the book ends. So it's very unsatisfying ending.
Babe, you know what I just remembered?
What did you just remember?
Was that rape scene in this book? Do you remember what I'm talking about? Where they capture her and she has... That's in this one?
Where they're about to
Okay, this happens to Sonny. This... Problematicism number one that made me big fucking mad in this. They, like, capture... It's like this bandit group that captures Sonny. This might have actually been in the second book. I think this might have been in the second book, right?
Well, is this...
Because it's after the apple shooting, where he throws up the apple and she shoots it. That's in the second book, right?
No, that's in this one. Because it's where they're entering the forest.
Okay, yeah. So, Adriel and Sonny, they, like, get captured by these bad people who, like, want to rape Sonny, and Sonny, like, strikes back at them and hits them with the darkness. And then there is literally, like, a big, giant portion of the chapter that is all about how Sonny believes that it was wrong that she was ready to kill the men who wanted to rape her, and how that makes her just as bad as the rapist for wanting to defend herself against her would-be rapist.
No, because that's actually out of order, because she kills them with the bow and arrow from afar.
Oh, is it with... Okay, you're right.
She
gets them with the bow and arrow, not the darkness.
Yeah.
But yeah. So basically, this book is like, it is bad to defend yourself against people who want to cause you bodily harm, because that makes you just as bad as them.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the opening scene?
So, yes, the opening scene is an execution scene.
Yeah.
Lovely. And I'm going to read the first 2 sentences of this chapter because it's somewhere, and it very well explains how every single chapter starts. Ryder was never a fan of executions.
Ryder.
Maybe it made him less of an Orinthian, but then he didn't care much about that. He never understood why the people of his country enjoyed them so much.
I wasn't aware that the Orinthians enjoyed executions. Because none of the this Autumn Wazowski does not know how to world build at all.
Or characterize.
This gets really bad in Banch, the prequel, where it gets to extreme lengths, but you can see the problem is already present in this book, where she will, like, mention something to characterize a country and then just never circle back to it. Mm-hmm. So the shit about Orinthians being, like, bloodthirsty...
And vicious.
Never mentioned again.
Nope.
Never, like, it's like she's trying to set it up as, like, a Roman type of we love watching people get ripped apart thing, and then it's just... It never gets elaborated on. Even when they're talking about prejudice against Orinthians, they never bring it up.
And it doesn't make any sense because the king is characterized as being like a dad.
Yeah, except in this chapter, because in this chapter they introduce King Tierin, who is Alita's dad, as like, they introduce him and he's like, he tells Alita, like, if you ever defy me, I'll put you to death.
Yep.
But then he's like a dad for the entire rest of the series.
Tierin turned to Ryder, his eyes glowing with rage. Not now, Ryder. I can normally deal with your ridiculous high moral standards, but not now. So if you don't want to end up in the gallows right after this man, I suggest you not say another word.
What
and
the
Alita,
fuck?
That goes for you too. So
what in the absolute fuck?
He's threatening his advisor and his daughter. with death over the decision to to have a man executed. It's very weird.
Well, and then it's even weirder because in the pages after this, it's immediately like he shows up in the kitchen when Alita is having a pastry moment, and it's like la la la, like, oh, you kids, you love your sweets.
Yeah, there is literally a sentence here where it's like the tension was broken with a joke. It's just the tonal shifts in this book are wild.
Tee-hee, we're sneaking a pastry in the kitchen.
It's after the
execution by the state.
Of a state execution of a public state execution of a spy. Tee-hee, gotta go get cherry tarts with my best friend.
Oh my god. We should talk about, first of all, can we talk about the fact that the city is called Abdul?
So there's a map that exists in these books. And
we'll talk about it in the next episode.
But I don't know if she's trying to go for like a Middle Eastern.
No, but the map. Well, babe,
it doesn't.
I don't
make
think so
any
because
sense.
it's like why is the Arctic land on the same latitude as like the desert? And it's just separated by, like, a thin, like, strip of sea.
It's separated by a thin strip of sea or, like, a river or something. It just... I could get into the map. I'm not going to get into the map.
We'll talk about it next time. The
execution happens. The king makes an actionable threat against his closest friend and his daughter. Autumn loves to talk about what the characters are wearing, specifically the female characters, but regularly also the male characters. Tieran, the king, was dressed in a light white robe made of cotton. Contrary to Ryder, he didn't look as if he was going to faint from heat exhaustion. His gray hair was tied into a knot behind his head, a simple crown adorning it. Ryder stood next to him on a balcony overlooking the scene, dressed in his typical execution garb, a black suit and a black hat. Today, that garb was suffocating him. The sun beat down upon the gallows, and sweat was covering his entire body. Alita was dressed in a simple green gown, her long brown hair cascading down her back in waves. She also wore a basic crown. Executions were not the time to be flashy. So,
Alita, unlike her father, was tall and thin. So we just gotta mention Tieran is fucking fat.
And short. So
he's just Santa instead.
On the royal balcony for some reason that's taking place in the palace courtyard, I guess, that's overlooking the gallows. You have the king who's dressed in a nightgown?
A terry cloth robe.
He
rolled out of bed. And he's flanked with Ryder, who is dressed like Abe Lincoln in my mind. and Alita, who is wearing Vivienne Westwood.
That is how all...
More like Macy's, but...
Yeah.
Macy's prom department.
That is how all of the descriptions of the character's clothing goes. It's like he was wearing a suit and tie as he walked into the boardroom.
Well, this is the thing with like the world building is she's never like, this is like the number one thing that was confusing me when I was reading this for the first time. I was like, because she is so bad at descriptions and world building that it genuinely makes it so that I have no way of picturing things. Like, I'm pretty sure a motorcycle appears at one point in this. I was like, where am I? Like, because part of me is like, is she doing this, like, on purpose, where it's supposed to be, like, quasi-medieval, quasi-modern? Like,
yeah.
But it's not. It's like, I think she might not know that they didn't have refrigerators in medieval times.
Yeah.
Or, like, it would be unlikely for you to have a stove in your apartment unless you were wealthy and you had servants to cook in the kitchen.
Right. And I think there's a lot of the choice of words as well. Like, she calls, houses or like dwellings, like apartments, instead of like
rooms, yeah,
or flats, perhaps
even flats. Yeah,
it's there's a lot of stuff like that's like anachronistic a little bit.
Yeah, it's extremely anachronistic. Like the scene with Sonny and Adriel where he shows up in her apartment and she has running water in her apartment and she has a refrigerator that she keeps chilled wine in, but then Adriel threatens her with a crossbow. That scene is also another one I want to talk about. When he shows up in her apartment and it's supposed to be like romantic, I guess, and she's like drunk and like preparing to just take a bath, and so she's like fucking naked under her robe, and this man shows up pointing a crossbow at her, and he's like, "You're gonna do what I say," but it's like all she is thinking about in that moment is how hot he is.
Yeah.
And it's like she's supposed to be like a woman, like a very young woman traumatized by the loss of her parents, like the violent loss of her parents. And her first thought when a man breaks into her apartment with a crossbow when she's naked and about to take a bath and drunk is not to be scared, but to be aroused.
Yeah.
It's just like so disrespectful. It's like she clearly, between this and like how Sonny, it like her moralizing over wanting to kill her would-be rapist, it's
weird.
Really misogynist and like just like deeply like you don't understand how any of this works.
Yeah, it's really disconcerting just to read how weird. I don't even know how weirdly. How little
victim blaming and like kind of rape apologizy it is. Because then there's also the thing with Sahar, where after Sahar turns out to be a bad guy and Sahar is the black woman, it was revealed earlier that Sahar, like, she confesses to Alita, she's like, I used to be a prostitute, but it's worse because she reveals that she was, like, trafficked into it at, like, 12 or 15, like, really young. And then Alita, after she, like, gets, basically sold to the bad guys by Sahar and Roman, she calls Sahar a whore. And then she literally, there is literally a line where it's like, oh, and I didn't feel bad about saying it, because she deserved it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I guess I couldn't expect much from a whore, she spat.
It's kind of really... This is why I don't feel bad about tearing this shit apart. Because it's really disrespectful and so degrading.
The way they describe Sahar, too, where she's like, oh, yeah, I was, like, human trafficked when I was a literal child, but I used to be a prostitute. But then she like listen, it like, she talks about getting a job at like the library. No, she's like, I got a husband. I started working at a library and I found a man who to be my husband, and he worked at a shipyard. But it's like, how were you literate? If you were, this is medieval times and you were trafficked into prostitution at 15, how are you working at a library? Because how do you even know how to read?
How did you get out of the prostitution ring and get to a point where you can...
Okay, no, because remember Roman, like, bought her, but he was, like, a good guy? Because the world needs a little more light. Because Roman is, like, so Roman buys her... And he buys for the right to rape Sahar, and then he's like...
Because he's expected to do it to like, become a man.
To become a man, because Roman, the twink, is in this, like, big crime family, the Vachis. So this is also a mob novel. And he's like, he takes Sahar up to his room, and Sahar is like, well, why aren't you just, like, getting on with it or whatever? And she's like, why are you treating me so nice? And then Roman responds, I shit you not, because the world needs a little more light.
Yeah.
Do you think a hardened criminal from a mob family would say that, babe?
I think a man, a young man from a crime family in medieval wherever,
Yeah.
He would not be very kind to Sahar. I think this is a very generous read of the of how men during this supposed time period were towards women.
Well, I don't mean to be a certain way, but like Sahar being like the captain of the pirate ship, but she is the literal only woman on the pirate ship, is like,
and
everybody else is a man.
And everyone else is a man and inexplicably respects her.
Yeah.
Like it's like she's so cool and so tough, but it's never...
Well, but I'm not trying to be a certain way, but it would make so much more sense if she had a female crew. But when it's like literally all men against one woman who orders them around, and it's like quasi-medieval times, it's like, this is... Like, I hate to be that guy, but because you can always be like, oh, she's just such a good leader, but she's not.
But talk about it.
Well, yeah, but talk about, if it's like a constant struggle, then it's fine, but like, it doesn't acknowledge it or talk about it in that way.
I'm also fairly certain that she doesn't directly interact with the crew. I think she interacts with the crew through Roman as well. Like, she tells...
That would make more sense if he was like on paper the captain, but she was the real captain.
Right.
But it's not like that.
But no, because it's like she's a cool badass.
Do uneducated male pirates respect women under any circumstances? Especially ex-prostitutes?
So this is Autumn calling herself out. There was no one on this deck, spare one man mopping. He saluted to Sahar, who returned the salute. Alita was amazed. This girl, who could be only 20 or 21 at the most, a former prostitute who had lost her husband, was the captain of a smuggling ship. She had earned the respect of every person who had worked for her. But again, there is no explanation of any of this. It's completely inexplicable.
Well, you're just supposed to like accept it. And like, it's like crazy because what Autumn does so many times is she will rehash the exact same backstory 50 different times. But like, to the point where there were sections of this book and the other books that Victor and I just had to skip because we're like, oh, she's just saying it all over again. But then there's so many other things that are just never explained or elaborated on that could have been interesting, but that she never does.
Like the forest deity,
The forest Dembe.
Oh my god.
Can we also talk about the child brides?
I was trying to find that.
Okay,
yeah.
so I'll say it. Okay, so this is the other fucking sexist thing about this book is Adriel, who is like, he's basically a wildling from Game of Thrones, but he's like Native American, but he's Aryan.
Because he's
like blonde and blue-eyed.
I don't think he's blonde. I think he's like
We thought he was blonde for some reason. I think it might be Roman who's blonde. But he's literally just a white guy, but he's also supposed to be native.
He might as well be called Kyle.
And he like... There's this scene where he is, like, explaining to Sonny his culture, and it's basically exactly the same as, like, imprinting in Twilight, where he's like, oh yeah, like, children are betrothed in my culture from a very young age, and I've always thought it's the purest form of love, and we pair them up when they're young, and at first it's like a friendship, and then it develops into more of a sibling bond, and only when they're age appropriate does it turn into something more. And it's very weird because it's like, why are we like defending like this like is allowed to stand by the author, and so it's just like a defense of child marriage and how it's just like an arranged marriage and how it's pure
and wholesome,
and how you gotta like get married as soon as you're barely... She has a fucking weird thing about like gotta start breeding as young as you possibly fucking can.
That is a very common theme in these books.
It appears over and over again.
It's
creepy.
You will see this most frequently in Banch, where it's like, oh, I'm 18, I just got out of college, and I'm high school, and I'm pregnant.
And I couldn't be happier.
And I couldn't wait to get married.
I just want to live in a cottage at the edge of a wood and churn butter with my 6th child.
Yeah.
She literally says that shit.
Yeah, like every female character that for now isn't Sonny or Alita has wants to have kids at like 19.
Yeah.
And Sonny and Alita are dangerously close to getting there.
Well, even Sahar, she's like basic. The subtext is like, I'm only a strong, independent woman because I lost my husband,
and I need to look for him and she's doing everything, like making all her money.
Her husband
is to find her husband.
Yeah.
Who may or may not be alive. Yeah. Instead of forging her own path in life.
Do you remember how... Can we talk about the racism really fast?
Please.
Babe, do you remember when Sahar is, like, first introduced, and Alita is just, like... She was, like, the most dangerous and aggressive-looking woman I've ever seen in my life.
With burly arms and a mean look to her.
And she looked like she could kill me easily.
Break me in half over her knee.
Yeah. And it's just so... And even though she tries to, like, make it so Sahar turns into the token black friend later, at least for a little bit, before Alita starts shaming her for being human trafficked, she tries to undo it, but it's just, like... It is weird to make your only black character this, like, mega aggressive character and also a fucking criminal and an ex-prostitute. Like, can we maybe... at least narrow it down to one of those things?
No. Can we talk about the puppy?
The puppy.
Okay. The puppy. All right, I need to find this specific chapter.
There was a puppy on the boat.
I need to read this.
This is my fucking favorite shit, because it's like you just know her friend got a puppy or something, and she really wanted to.
Oh my god!
What is this drawing?
Okay. Okay. Put a pin in that. We'll get to that. That is okay. So the drawing that Fran is referring to is a picture of a man and a woman, a stick man and a stick woman, standing upon the top of a horse in the rain. Because that is how it is described, quote, "At first they tried to wait out the storm in a small cave. Upon realizing it wasn't about to stop, they put up their hoods and braved it on top of the horse." There is a lot of shit like that in this book where the prepositional phrases are just wrong. Chapter 14, Aram, Orinth. There was a puppy on the boat, and it had made Alita's life increasingly happy. His name was Louis.
They named the puppy?
Apparently after one of the men's favorite bartenders in Abdul. They had picked him up when they had set sail, a mutt who had been on the side of the road within a litter that no one had wanted. They could only take one, because the puppy upkeep was apparently too much for a whole group of sailors. Over the course of their days on the water, however, it had become Alita's job and responsibility, because she's a woman! Despite the fact that she didn't technically have to work for her position on the boat. But she loved it. Louis was so tiny she could pick him up in her arms easily. He was black with white patches all over his body, and he loved playing fetch. He would run around as fast as he could and then lay down and fall asleep wherever he was last standing. The last couple of nights, Louis had found his way into her room and snuggled into her bed under her covers.
I love how, like, the last chapter was this, like, just, like, serious, steamy conversation between Adriel and Sonny, and then this chapter, it's like, there's a...
Puppy. Isn't the puppy so... Don't you love dogs? don't you...
Heckin' pubber.
I love...
Heckin' pupper.
Oh, heck, I love this dog.
I can't believe they named the dog. This is the other thing that Autumn does is every single character gets named. What was the name of the guy who got executed again?
Craydune.
Craydune.
This
puppy?
The
fucking names. Louis, Sawney, Craydune, Sawney Lois, Craydune, Alita Golding, Ryder Gray.
And this dog doesn't exist for more than half this chapter.
But we gotta know his name.
Puppy!
Well, this is what was really confusing to me the first time that I read this, because she was naming everyone. I was like, okay, they're naming them, so they must be important. So they're gonna come back. But then I realized she was naming everyone. Like, she in the center of the tavern, and they name him, and then he just, like, never appears again. The bartender at the like, random tavern that we're stopping at for one night. We have to know what their horse is named.
There is literally a scene in this book where Alita stops at a tavern. Or maybe Sonny stops at a tavern.
It's Alita.
And she goes in, and the tavern keeper, her husband, and her son are all named Hal.
The son is Hal. I remember that.
Oh, no, it's Jax, isn't it?
No, it's Hal.
That's on to Kai, babe.
Kai, oh my god.
So Gar, Kai,
Put it towards Gar's horse fund. His name is Gar, like the fish.
Gar.
Remember the scene where Adriel is like, no, I don't want a bed in the hotel, Sonny. My people prefer to sleep on the cold, hard ground.
Even when a bed was, it's like, no, it's okay. You can sleep in the bed. He's like, no.
I want to sleep outside where I can get fucking robbed and freeze to death. Alita woke with a start. Every chapter has to begin with like a one-sentence paragraph.
A slinger, just like an absolute, just like, Ryder watched as the king sat at his desk, head in his hands, staring at nothing.
Remember Nova Gray? Alita's fake name, Nova.
Stupid ass name.
These names... Abdul, Orinth,
Ryder, Kieran, Kai,
Gar. Remember the battle scene with Ryder? That was the worst fucking shit,
let's babe. Get the fucking
that was
homoerotic battle scene.
That was the most. I remember you were breaking down how it didn't make any sense.
It is just I was getting so mad because it was just like, it's like, oh, they went into battle and they just crashed against each other like in a fucking melee. Like, the start of the battle is like them forming their battle lines, and then it's just like absolute chaos immediately, even though Ryder is out there in the middle of the battle trying to, like, not even trying to command people. It's just a slaughter. So I don't think I mentioned this. Ryder has the power of the darkness because he's actually the royal bloodline. That would have been important to state at the beginning of this whole thing. But anyway, it's not...
No, but it doesn't make sense because then there's two people.
Right.
So it actually doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
There are actually two heirs.
Yeah. So the reader at the end of this book knows that Ryder Gray is Sonny Lois's father. In this scene, Ryder is in the middle of a battle and he watches some guy just get fucking got.
This is?
Oh yeah. It's extremely
This is the other thing about Autumn Wazowski is she switches from there was a puppy on the boat to like I hit somebody with my flail and bashed his skull in, and the greasiness of his brains flew out over the grass, and it's just like so graphic.
His eye exploded in its socket and dripped all over his
face.
I know.
Just
completely egregious and unnecessary violence for a book that's for who? Who is this? We'll get to that.
Because it's like for her church group.
This is not for a church group. This is...
It's like very weird because it's so horny, but it's so violent, but it's also like trying to be wholesome and like oh, gotta follow Christ. And so like none of it, it's like the tone is so inconsistent.
So he's in the middle of the battle, and he's using the darkness. So the darkness can be used to like torture and kill people instantly.
There are no rules to the darkness. It can do mind control. It's just basically you are God.
You can do anything, and it exhausts you because it's like a muscle or whatever.
That doesn't happen in Banch.
No, it doesn't.
I think she forgot about that.
That is something that Mrs. Wazowski is Miss Wazowski is prone to doing. So he has this moment with this boy where at the end of this battle, like this boy is croaked, home, I want to go home. He whispered, wincing in pain once again. I think this kid was literally ran through with a sword. Yeah, Ryder pulled the sword out of the stomach as the boy screamed again. So just like
fucking God.
Jesus, you just let him die in peace.
I love my note at the end of this chapter that it's totally unnecessary and redundant.
Yeah.
Because it is. We did not need to see this.
Yeah.
Ryder didn't even know. Wait a minute. Wait.
Yeah, so
wait
this
a minute.
is a complete stranger.
Wait a minute.
Wait! Oh, no! Wait
a minute.
What?
Wait, no. Babe. Lou isn't his name. That's his home. They named a town Lou. But it looks like... First of all, Louie is the name of the dog.
Oh my fucking God.
Second of all, okay, so we're screaming because it says, Ryder asks, where is home for you? And then Lou, the boy, managed to say, and then at the bottom of the page, the boy dies, and then it's like Ryder didn't even know his name. But Lou sounds like a person's name.
Yeah.
It's just terrible fucking world building. And Louie is also the name of the dog, so it's even more hammered into the reader's mind as like a name.
Right. It's just weird.
Don't they get the pudding in this book? With Roman?
But we got one thing at a time.
Well, okay, then we're done with this. What else do you want to say?
So he uses the darkness to also put an image of the boy's homeland in his mind as he's dying.
Wait, how does Ryder know what the homeland looks like?
Because he's the king's advisor and he's so smart. Again, Ryder's qualifications for this role are... Well, we'll get to that in Banch.
What are Ryder's qualifications for just leading a battle if he's the king's advisor?
Because he's also the king's half-son.
Yeah, but what does he know about the military?
Babe, don't ask too many questions.
Can we talk about Alita getting hot pudding on a 100-degree day with Roman?
We already talked about her getting hot pudding in the middle of a dance floor.
No, we didn't.
Okay, so we gotta talk. Okay, we'll talk about that first.
Hot pudding. Okay, so Alita, there's a scene where Alita goes to a bar, and it's basically supposed to be, it is literally the scene in Titanic where Rose goes below deck and has a good time for the first time in her life with Jack. But it's really, really, it's like the most graphic kiss that you've ever seen in your life.
I need to read this verbatim.
You need to find it.
Yeah. Ellis is this kid's name.
Ellis.
All right. So Ellis was a better dancer than her. He danced. It was incredibly liberating as they whisked around the room. Blah 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 blah. It's literally the scene from Titanic.
It is.
They remained laughing or smiling the entire time until the song finally came to an end. Ellis held her in a dip until the crowd began applauding. He pulled her upwards.
Everybody clapped.
And everyone clapped. He pulled her upwards and suddenly pressed a kiss hard to her lips. She wasn't expecting it at all and almost gasped against him. His mouth explored her own, and she felt herself melt into his body, letting her hands run up his back and through his hair as he did the same to her. Finally, they broke apart. Alita stared at him. His eyes held a giddiness to them, and he was grinning. No one else on the floor paid them any attention.
Yeah? That should get me an extra few coins.
Because he was betted by... He took a bet by his friends that she wouldn't accept a dance with him. And Alita curtsied, glad to have been of service. And this is like her first real kiss with a boy.
This like makes me sad because this makes me think that Autumn, like, this is like a projection of her own experience where like you were only getting a dance with a guy because of like a bet he has with his buddies.
Oh, that does not sit well with me.
If someone was like doing that to me on the dance floor, I would kind of be like, what the fuck?
You wouldn't melt into his kiss?
I would not melt into his kiss. I wouldn't be like grabbing his and running my hand through his hair and just like
grabbing his ass deeply.
Can you find that frowny face passage again?
Oh my god, where was that? I think that was the babe, that was the entire chapter where with the
bathing scene.
The bathing scene. And we talked about the formatting.
No.
Are we going to talk about the formatting?
Oh, here it is, the big frown. We'll talk about the formatting. Everything is indented like 12 inches over. Everything is unjustified. The page numbers are in calibri for some reason, even though the rest of it is in a different font. Page numbers are too big. They're also not centered properly.
There are pages at the end of chapters that are just blank.
That have page numbers on them still. Yeah. All right. Talk about them fucking in the hot spring.
All right.
So Adriel and Sawney go to a hot spring.
We're back at the chapter where they're standing on top of the horse in the rain. I think the rain and sweat dripped down his face. See, by the way, he's sweaty in the cold, which makes no sense. He had taken off his wet armor and was only in a long sleeve t-shirt and a pair of pants. His weapons laid next to his armor, also soaked. Sawney tried not to notice the way his clothes hung to him. This is the most erotic chapter in the series.
Yeah, except for when Sahar is like, "Come on, princess, it's time for your bath."
Oh my fucking god!
There's like a scene below deck where like Sahar walks into Alita's chambers, and it's so weirdly...
Your bath is ready, princess.
Yeah. Oh my god! It's like, yeah, that is seriously. Like, I know she's racist against Sahar, but it's also like that scene raises questions for me a little bit. Anyway, this is actually like one of the only times when someone is like actually having an erotic moment with a man.
Yeah.
Where it's like actually like, I think that the Autumn might just not be that into men after Adriel, because there's never any like the men, it's always like he was a guy and I loved him for it. And then the women, it's like she wore a long pendant that plunged between her ample breasts, and as she leaned over,
accentuated her voluptuous curves.
Yeah. Like when Alita meets that bartender.
Oh my god!
She's like, oh, her long tresses caressed her ample bosom, and she leaned over the bar to wipe something off, and then handed me my drink with a sweet smile.
It's like, whoa!
It's like,
wow!
It's like I feel inappropriate reading this.
Oh well, you're about to get.
It's crazy because you can see the moods the author is in when she's writing. Like I can tell. Oh, she's horny when she wrote this chapter.
Yep.
Her friend got a puppy when she wrote this chapter. She was feeling emo when she wrote the battle chapter.
It is a window into Autumn's mind.
Go ahead.
I am not. It is too present of a notion that this is a window into her mind and her mentality, and it's just kind of like unsettling.
Yeah. But then, like, there's no true eroticism allowed without, like, shit like this. Somehow he had eased the pain of the burden she had been carrying on her back for 4 years. When she was with him, she didn't feel guilty for her parents' That's spelled wrong.
Yep.
That apostrophe is in the wrong place.
And there's it's her parent apostrophe s death.
No, because it's supposed to be her parents, and the apostrophe should be after the S because it's plural.
It should be her parents' deaths.
Oh, wait, yeah.
Oh, that's...
Or all of that seemed to fade into the background, and it was just Adriel. They've only known each other for like 2 weeks at this
like
point.
3 weeks.
It's like you're
or
not
something.
allowed to want to fuck the hot guy without it being like
emotionally.
Like he is transcending. I am transcending all of my old pain.
He saved me from myself.
Yeah, you're not allowed to just be attracted to someone.
So, he makes a deal with her. Okay, fine. I'll make a deal with you, Miss Lois. If I light this fire, you have to jump into that spring right there, pointing to at the spring that was 20 feet or so away from where they had camped out, looking cold as ever in the waning light of the day. Sonny snorted. Unlikely. What's in it for me? If I can't light this fire, then you can keep that blanket. Also, no close parentheses.
God.
It's like doing a second read through. I think we'd go insane with how many grammatical errors we missed the first time.
Yeah.
So then he immediately succeeds in making the fire, and so she, strip.
She like wraps her arms, or not her arms, her legs around his waist when they're in the water.
Yeah, so
I mean they are like just
they're an inch away from having a moment, an erotic moment.
Well, they're already having an erotic moment, but it's kind of like look at this.
Oh yeah,
wet wood.
Yeah, I guess I'll know how to light the fire next time we have wet wood. Sonny breathed. There are a lot of...
That wasn't the only wet wood in this.
God. There are a lot of frowny faces in this chapter.
These are the biggest frowny faces I've ever seen. She only had brassiere on.
She only had brassiere on as Adriel raised an eyebrow. She shrugged at him. I'm not going to get my clothes wet or dirty. I only have a few more clean sets. She unbuttoned the latch on her black skirt and let it drop to the ground as well. She strode and stood at the edge of the spring. It was deeper than it looked. The ledge said blah, 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 blah. She turned back to Adriel, who was slightly flushed at the girl in front of him, who was now half naked. Still, he wore an expression of amusement and dare she say cockiness. He crosses...
Do we have to use that word?
Yes, because penis, Fran. Just remember, if I drown or die from the cold, it's on you, Sonny said, tossing her hair back. Wow. Woo! She jumped in the water, and they fight.
What is this? Why does it say...
What's this? So they're having like a sexy moment, and then they both just like do things that would normally ruin the mood immediately. Like they're like fighting and splashing in the water, and then Sonny shook her head at him. We're playing the "Poor Me from the Wilds" card, are we? He tried to make a sad expression, but continued smiling. Yes, we are.
I love how there's, like, genuine racial tension between them in other scenes. Like, racialized tension where she has real prejudice against people from the wild. Like, imagine you're, like, having a sexy moment with someone and then they just get, like, playfully racist with you. She thinks that, like this is how you overcome prejudice. By being prejudiced in a joking way. Can we look at the pudding? I want to see, what's her face? Alita's date with Roman.
Oh my God.
Where it's like 100-degree day and they go to the
farmer's
they
market
go to the
and get some hot pudding at the farmer's market.
No, they go
like it's so hot. We gotta sit beneath a tree in the shade to eat the hot pudding.
We're in this world's equivalent of Morocco in July, and we're at the market. We can get absolutely anything. Let's get the fucking piping hot pudding. But don't worry, we'll sit in the shade while we eat it. It was rich and warm and somehow flavorful, while managing to still taste like pure chocolate. I love this is the beginning of the some tick that she has. Some sort of stringed instrument. It was somehow flavorful.
This is a common theme in her books where, because she is so bad at world building, she will rely on vagueness by using some sort of stringed instrument. There's something cooking in the pan for breakfast. Like
they were doing something before they came to the library.
Doing whatever before they went out to dinner.
Yeah.
Like come on, you can be a little more generous to the readers than that.
Look at this spelling. Shop spelled SHOPPES.
Babe, it's because it's Old English.
No, it's not.
Even though there are fucking apartments.
How did look? She's sitting with Roman. How did she know you? She asked the man.
Oh yeah,
the man in question is Roman.
Yeah.
Real. Oh my God! Remember
what?
this?
What?
Okay, so Alita chokes, and then Roman's like, "You good? Fine. Sorry, it just went down the wrong tube. It's because you're trying to inhale it instead of eat it."
Oh my God, Roman, no!
What the fuck?
Jesus.
Fellas, it's over if you're on a date.
Yeah,
You say that.
guys, listen, don't do that.
But this, like, genuinely makes me still, like, kind of feel protective over Autumn. Because I'm like, I bet you some fucking guy that she thought she liked said some shit like that.
Yeah.
And she didn't recognize it as negging because she's so insecure.
Oh, this is the pre-battle where he's talking with the 25-year-old.
His name was Gale.
Gale, the 25-year-old 5-star general leading this battle with Ryder. And what both sides didn't know is that Orinthians had the upper hand. They had a man who possessed demonic powers on their side.
Wow.
He closed his eyes and felt it within him. There it was, the endless depth of power somewhere in his soul, where he couldn't feel the bottom. He couldn't feel the limit. It would be ridiculously easy to throw himself into it, let his power control him and devour him, give in to the shadow. But he wouldn't. Today, he would use it for the sake of his kingdom. He would have to be cautious, though. He remembered how it used to feel when he was a teenager and pushed the limits. It grew harder and harder to stop using it.
I don't know.
He would grow so exhausted, so drained that he often felt like he might die from it. It was the one restraint the shadow had. Too much use had drastic effects. My text marking for this section is gay, but I think more appropriate one would be masturbation.
You gotta put that
Gently
messaging in there.
he dipped into the shadow.
Babe.
God damn it!
This gives like a very weird. Remember Expelling the Darkness in Banch? I love this. He had taken off his wet armor and was in a long-sleeved shirt and a pair of pants. Thanks. Thanks for that. What is this giant frowny face across the whole page? This is the fucking child marriage shit.
Okay, I have to reread this. I'm gonna read this verbatim because this is disgusting. I have a little. This is Adriel and Sonny speaking. I have a little sister, but that's it. My parents are gone. My father died in the war. My mother grew sick and we had to move further north and died. My sister is named Masha. He shook his head. She's an absolute madwoman. And Sonny laughed. Why is that? She has a temper. Blah, 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 blah. We'll be hunting and I'll say, Masha, we need to run faster. And she'll walk slower until I have to beg her. But I love her. I miss her. She's probably 17 now. By now. I'm guessing she's already married. Sonny whistled. That seems young. He shrugged. Maybe for an Ontican. For us in the wilds, that's right around the age where you get married. Masha has been betrothed since she was 13 or 14 to the same boy. Is it an arranged marriage sort of thing? Adriel shook his head. No, not at all. They chose each other. You choose someone, and either gender can choose. If that person accepts, you go in front of the tribal council. If they approve, once you turn 16, you can marry that person. It's a much different idea from those in Antica and Orinth. Marriage here is, he struggled to find the words, civil. You're married in the eyes of the law. Of course, there's a ceremony and a celebration, but in the wilds, it's more than that. You're bound to that person for life. They become your world. It's not just the law that recognizes it. It's the universe, the world, the continent, the gods, everything. They all know that you're with this person until the end of time.
That is so lovely,
Sonny said softly.
Adriel looked at her.
I like that word, lovely. We don't have a word like that in the wilds. Lovely is a lovely word, Sonny Lois. This is cute? This is wholesome?
Yeah, it's pure.
It's pure.
Before you can be corrupted by the atheists.
I would not
get married young.
If 13-year-old Victor selected a woman, a girl that he wanted to marry,
bro, that's so fucked up.
That's fucked up.
Weird.
I would not
this
trust.
This is weird.
It's
this is
really
what fucking
weird.
church is she a part of that is like putting these ideas in her head?
Babe.
That make it this like why are you like I fucking hate people. I think it's creepy when people force romance on children.
It's supposed to be like, oh, it's young love, and it's such a young
age.
But it's like when I was 13, I was playing Minecraft, and I wasn't seriously thinking about girls. I was like,
I know.
I was
playing with stuffed animals. Like I was like very much just like still a child, you know.
It's the fact that Autumn is included this in the book is just very like, the fact that she thinks it's okay is just not.
No, it's just like the explanation, like trying to sell it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's cute.
Like Sonny expresses her doubts and then she's like proven wrong or whatever.
Oh my god.
Alita held herself back from scoffing. She had a feeling Sahar might punch her if she did.
Why? It's because she's black.
I know. Remember how the rival king's name is Graf?
Graf. Stupid name.
Allie Lois.
Yeah, so there
about
is
her parents.
1, 2,
Who is
3.
Jer? Who is Jer?
So Jer is the
How
archivist.
do you remember this
Jer
shit?
is the babe, because he's an important character in this. He's the archivist.
Crayfish Dune.
He is an important archivist at the city where...
At the library that contains records of literally everything.
Oh, yeah.
Conveniently.
It's like this organization that literally just are like a ton of data hoarders.
Yeah.
And they fucking know about like the Last Heir, and it's where Sonny learns about the Last Heir. Jer is like the head librarian.
Why doesn't King...
of this underground like illegal library.
Babe, why doesn't King Graf just go to the library to learn this stuff? Because it's publicly available
this book
information.
Has been terribly written. Anyway, for some reason, this librarian has this letter from Sonny's aunt to her. No, from Sonny's mother to her. That takes up 1, 2, 3 full pages of this fucking book, and it's just like, it could have just said your dad's name is Audenfrey.
What is the 3 deep 5 me text marking
let's
for?
See. Rider sighed in relief. Well, at least they had won, but victory did not taste as sweet as it normally did. He couldn't seem to rid himself of the vision of the boy on the ground, impaled by the sword. Was the victory worth losing that one boy who probably had a family and a future somewhere? Bro, he's in the army. He kind of signed up for it, not to be a certain way.
I love how this says. So you remember in the beginning where Ryder is like he doesn't have a taste for executions. What is up with this line? The victory did not taste as sweet as it normally did.
Interesting.
Does he normally enjoy war and victory? And also, remember the prequel where Ryder is literally a school shooter and he loves executing people and killing people? And so,
he's literally that gif of the kid pulling the gun out of his pocket, being like, and then putting it back in.
I'll put it on the screen. Yeah. That's literally Ryder.
That is literally Ryder. But that is fucking 4 books away, or 3
harsh as it might sound, he couldn't become emotionally attached to the thought of one boy's life.
Dude, he's a soldier in your army.
What is this formatting? Why is this a block quote?
Babe, it wasn't supposed to be a block quote. The room was starting to... So he's in the infirmary. He threw his dirty clothes and trinkets onto the ground as he searched for the picture of Alita that could lead him to find Alita.
Oh wait, yeah, he has this like magical drawing of Alita that he...
It's a picture.
It's a picture.
It's a picture.
No.
It's a photograph.
So I guess they have photographs, but anyway, so it like can magically lead him to Alita if he just looks at it.
Yeah, because she has the other half of the picture with his
picture on it.
It's like a picture of 2 of them, and it's been ripped down the center.
Starting to...
The room, so he was making a mess. He threw the dirty clothes and trinkets into the ground as he searched for the picture. The room was starting to reek. Spelled W-R-E-A-K, from the dirty uniforms and from Ryder himself.
Oh, what is this?
Oh, so Alita at the
my God, I forgot. I knew we were forgetting about something.
So at the very end of the book, Alita escapes. So
my God.
As we mentioned, Alita was sold to the evil nation by Roman and Sahar, and at some point she escapes and she's running through the streets of this foreign, like the foreign city of the bad nation, and she has nowhere to go.
She goes to a brothel.
A brothel called Sylvia's Stay and Play, which is...
Oh my God.
And there was a bar and an empty round table scattered around.
It stinks so bad that she walks around. The women themselves stink so bad that Alita walks towards her, quote, trying not to breathe.
Yeah. There was a bar and an empty round tables scattered unorganized around the room, with one woman dressed in a shirt that barely covered her bosom, leaning bored against the counter. Alita walked towards her, trying not to breathe. It was a pigsty, but it was her only option.
Can I point out this quote up here?
Yeah.
She regretted calling Sahar a whore. The look on her face had been worth it, but she shouldn't have said it. Alita laughed at herself as she stepped onto one of the stone streets. Sahar had sold her out to the Auntican king, and here she was still defending her.
God, what a fucking psycho.
So literally talking herself out of empathy for a human trafficking victim that she called a whore.
Unbelievable.
This was the point where I started getting mad. I think this is the point where I was like, I need to look this fucking person up.
Yeah.
Who is this? Like, the gross out factor that she tries to do for, like, the prostituted women.
It's so distasteful.
It's really gross. Moments later, she deposited Alita into a small, cramped, and frankly smelly room. She looked into the women heavily made up eyes that were slightly on the bloodshot side.
And then
I love how the magic has literally no rules in this.
Yeah.
I love how we have no idea of what the world looks like at all.
Yeah.
But we do know what the puppy's name is, at least.
Yeah. So the book fucking ends with cliffhangers where Ryder Grey knows that Alita's in danger, and he's going to go through hell and high water to go find her and save her. Alita is captured and meets the evil seductress woman.
Yeah, who wears ball gowns everywhere and is a blonde bombshell, and her name is Cassia Messina.
Here, if you want an example of the weird or like lesbianism, like a female attraction, Alita turned around. The woman standing by the table had long golden blonde hair that reached her navel. She was utterly beautiful, with the smoothest pale white skin and blue eyes. Her lips were perfectly red, and she wore a dazzling gown for some reason. Alita wondered if Alita wondered if she were in a dream as she observed the red sparkly dress that Alita herself would have only worn for a ball. She wore a diamond necklace that Alita wagered was worth more than most people's homes. She stood tall and proud and elegant.
That's funny coming from Alita, who is supposed to be the spoiled princess character.
Yeah.
Like, why would she be aware of what most people's homes cost? Because the whole point of her character is that she's naive. Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, do you have anything else? Because I want to talk about the 4chaners in her YouTube comments now.
Okay, that's it.
We'll be back for the second book, which is half the length of the first book, and spends most of its space just recounting stuff that happens in the first book.
Yeah.
So that'll be for the next episode. I do want to provide a brief update to this author's YouTube channel, because before I put out episode 0, I was like going through all of her remaining videos, of which there are few, because she culled most of them, like I said, because I just want to make sure that I didn't have any lingering comments, because again, I'm trying to be fair. I don't want people to like find her. And so I was going through just making sure I didn't have any comments, and what do I see? Kek.
Yep.
K-E-K.
Yep.
In her fucking comments. But there are literal fucking people who use that terminology, and who are like, there are a couple of different accounts that were like clearly from men. Well, I shouldn't call them men. Guys.
Thank you for using the correct taxonomy.
Guys, clearly accounts from guys who are like, it's like the kind of shit they do where it's just like posts like meme phrase or whatever, and with like crazy formatting and nothing else. Like I don't even remember the phrase it was that they were using. It was like kind of like, I think they're making fun of her, but I'm not sure. Like, you can tell it's like some kind of in joke.
Mm-hmm.
And there were like a couple of different accounts doing that, and those are like more recent comments.
Yep.
And so I literally, and the guy who used the word kek was or like the abbreviation or whatever, which is, it's basically like 4chan talk.
Yeah.
If you don't know, it's 4chan like incel talk. She was like engaging with him earnestly. And so I'm like, okay, two ways this could go. Either she's like where we were right and clocking her as trad, and she's like trying to get herself like an alt-right boyfriend. Which, frankly, this is like what these guys look for, is like, they love trying to find their wife online. It's a big thing on Tumblr. Mm-hmm. Like they look for really, really insecure and sheltered, because they can't get someone smart who has a life. Like, they need someone who is insulated and sheltered and kind of desperate.
Right.
And so that's why they always like look for women online. And so anyway, so it's either she is embracing the conservatism and like leaning that way, and she has found like a guy who is lying to her and like telling her what she wants to hear or whatever, or she seriously has no clue what she's dealing with, and I might have saved her by telling her to delete that video where she doxes herself.
Yep.
I literally, like, babe, I saw that, and I don't even like this person, but I felt so protective.
Yeah.
I was like, you people are dogs to me. Stay away from her. You just know they want her pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's all they think about.
Yeah. Ew.
It's true.
Gross.
It's true.
Gross.
Babe.
Yeah, that's but like she was like earnestly engaging with it. I felt so bad looking at it. I mean, again, maybe this is just like her going full Nazi, so maybe I shouldn't feel bad. Oh my fucking god, I am so glad I told her to delete that video where she doxes herself.
Ooh.
That, bro, the bullet that she dodged,
saved.
and it's literally, I'm like her hater that she hates, but really I saved her.
Yeah.
I could be your devil or angel.
Perhaps you are both.
Yeah, perhaps I am both. Wow, who knew hating can be saving? Enemy of my enemy is my friend. I will never. It's only okay for us to be haters because we're fucking Democrats. Like.
And we know her by proxy?
We do. We are only like one connection away
degree
from
of
her
separation.
because of Mr. Corcoran, because of your dad. Well, anyway, that's the kind of disturbing update, and I just, you know what? I hope that we are the only like actual haters that she like gets is just people who are like criticizing the books for legitimate reasons and not like just jobless men that like to like pick on women for no reason other than the fact that they're women.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, that's the damn depressing way to end it. Shit. Well, it is what it is.
Yeah, look out for episode 2.
It's gonna be like 10 minutes because this book is like 10
episode
pages
2 is
long.
gonna be 10 minutes. The piss edition.
Pamphlet.
The piss pamphlet. Yellow ass cover. Book is maybe 70 pages long. Maybe let's say 120.
No, I don't think it's even 100 pages, bro.
It's not long.
Bye.
Bye.